Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chaps Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now I like to do the occasional question and answer video which gives you folks an opportunity to pose a question to me which, you're interested to get my take on something or my just general observations on it. And you have sent me many questions. In fact, this is the second of two Q&A videos which I've done here at Oak Camp, my summertime or springtime sabbatical away from the urban world. And I've got a number of questions here which are going to take me a little while to get through. So sit back and relax, and I'm just going to plow right on through this Q&A squared, so to speak. Okay, so the first question comes from ABLH7TT. Catchy name, sir. And it is, what is your relationship to film, your likes, dislikes, positives, negatives for society? And how does your family view the Chaps Guide? Well, I'll answer that second part first. The Chaps Guide, my channel here on YouTube, has been going for 5.5 years now, and my family, as in my wife and my son, they are not really, they're aware that I do this as a hobby. It obviously is something I spend a lot of time doing, but I don't believe my wife has seen maybe one or two of the 800 videos that I've made. She is a busy person, doesn't really have much time for it, so not a great deal. My son, I don't think he watches my videos either. Being a 15-year-old, it's not really in his sort of themed area, but who knows, he'll come to it later in life. My mum and dad, on the other hand, I know they do watch my videos. That's why I always watch my P's and Q's, and you'll never hear me swearing on my channel, because I'll get it in the ear from my mother if I was to do that. So that's that part of your question. The first part, what is my relationship to movies, likes and dislikes and the like? Well, to be honest, I don't watch a great deal of television or movies in general in the cinema. You'll be lucky if I see one good film a month, because I'm quite an active and busy person, and I would rather pour my time into doing stuff rather than sat in front of the TV. However, I do watch the odd thing. My work often finds me travelling. So where I'm in a new town or something like that, if possible, if I'm stuck for an evening's entertainment, I will track down the local cinema and find out what's on, because often I've seen some of my more interesting movies through just seeing what's on in the cinema and spontaneously going in there and watching them. Probably the most interesting film I've watched in the last month has been Conclave with Ralph Fiennes and a number of other big, quality actors like, Stanley Tucci and so on, which is the story of how the Roman Catholic faith elect their Pope. And coincidentally, I watched it just before Pope Francis died. So I was up to speed on how the conclave worked. Well, that version of it anyway. Found that interesting. If I'm drawn to anything in the movie world, it's movies which can add something to my knowledge, or even just a little bit of entertainment, really. I mean, it's not a passion for me watching movies. I wish I had more time to watch them. The problem is there seems to be a dearth of good quality movies coming out into the world, and over the last decade or so, the juggernaut in the movie world has been these Marvel superhero movies, which I have to say did not float my boat at all. Generally speaking, as I say, films I enjoy give me a message, make me think about something, and I walk away either feeling enriched or I've learned something. Now, of course, over the years, as an aficionado of men's style, I cannot mention movies without mentioning the James Bond journey. Because for me, the James Bond sort of evolution since the 1960s, when we saw Sean Connery playing the role, right up to the more recent actor like Dan Craig, the last actor to play Bond, we await the announcement of who the new James Bond is going to be. I know who I'd like it to be. I'd like it to be Henry Cavill. I think he was born to play the role, and I hope he gets the opportunity to do that. But it keeps the message going, keeps history going, and particularly in the case of James Bond, for many young fellows coming up through this world, Bond may be the only well-dressed man that they look up to in their lives, because their fathers, grandfathers, uncles and so on, they may never wear a suit. So the young fellows never get to see a man exploring the value of being well dressed, and I think that's what a movie can give you. It can allow you to step outside your own sphere of influence and see something different, and then you can aspire to be very much like it. Some things I don't like in movies, I can tell you. I tend not to watch movies which offer the old tropes which they fall back on when they lack talent. Bad language and sexual content. I mean, I sound like an old man. I don't mind profanity, obviously. I live in the modern world. But a movie in which profanity is profound, every other sentence there's profanity in it, it loses its value. And that seems to be increasingly common in movies these days. They revert to this terrible language when they can't think of anything else to write, so it seems. Same goes for sexual content. You know, I've reached an age now, I really don't want to see nudity and sexual content. It just doesn't interest me. If you need to show that to keep the story rolling along, you're really struggling in the journey. So there we go. Right, so next question is from Ali White. And Ali has said, "Hello Ash, I've been meaning to ask you about bags. I've always used a bag. Essentially, I use hiking rucksacks for every day and for work because I find them very practical. I like to take a toolkit of items with me for different eventualities while I'm out, so a briefcase or messenger bag doesn't cut it. However, I like to turn up the dial to something more stylish that remains practical, robust with plenty of storage and pockets. What do you feel are the best options out there?" Well, I kind of fall into your category too, because, yeah, I do have a few briefcases, but the truth is I rarely carry briefs, as in paper documents. So the truth is a briefcase often isn't big enough for what I need to carry. In the wintertime, I often carry a hat, a scarf, gloves, lots of stuff, as well as a journal, pens, so on and so forth. And any other incidentals like a water bottle that I want to carry around with me or something. And then, you're right, a rucksack, a backpack of some kind, I carried one here today, they are great, they are very, very practical, but they lack any real style. And they're often made of, the one I have is a very red nylon style material, so they're not particularly attractive in any scope. What I tend to do, I rather like what people call weekend bags, right? And the secret, though, is leather. For me, when you make something out of leather, it elevates its style immediately. So a weekend bag, I often, the old term for it is a valise. I've got a number of weekend bags, some made of quite stiff leather, some made of quite soft leather. And I've got one particular by a company called Paul Costello, which I've had for 15 years. And it's just nice brown grained leather, wearing in nicely. Just gets better as the years roll by, and it's a big voluminous bag that I can fit everything I need into. The only downside to them is they tend to be hand carried, so if you like to carry something on your back, it's not quite as ergonomically comfortable, because you can get straps for them. Most of them come with straps, but it's not the same as a bag which is designed to be carried across the shoulders. So you have to weigh that up as to style versus comfort and practicality. The alternative, of course, are the many, many leather backpacks which are out there today. And I've encountered many. I mean, a brand which I'm very familiar with is Carl Frederick. It's a luxury leather goods company generally. Their products are towards the expensive end, but as I own practically everything from their collection, I can only say that they're probably going to outlast a human lifetime. So, it depends on how much you want to invest. Some of the leather backpacks out there, they are the nice middle ground. Yes, they're not entirely stylish because, there's something you carry on your back, over your shoulders, but the leather elevates them beyond anything of an artificial material. The other thing I would say about leather, not to be overlooked, yes, it's long lasting, but it's also repairable. Much more repairable than maybe a man-made material. So don't forget, if you damage a leather bag, take it along to your local shoe cobbler you know, somebody who works with leather repairs all the time, and they will fashion a repair no trouble at all. If you have a brand like Carl Frederick, they normally come with a lifetime guarantee, and they'll fix them up if something goes wrong with them. So have a little think about something like that. But generally speaking, if you've got a man-made fabric product and you want to style it up, find it made in leather and you're on the way. Next question from Ahmed Robgi. Sorry, it's a really complex name. What do you think about the increase in wearing smartwatches? Should a chap wear them while not working out? That's a good question. I mean, the onward march of smartwatches, I don't think it's going to abate anytime soon because they're incredibly practical. And I own one too. I mean, I don't own an Apple Watch. I've got a Garmin sort of fitness tracker, which I've had for, I'm going to say 10 years. You know, it's a great little piece. Keeps on going. Although I wear a normal, I would describe an analog watch most of the time, an automatic watch which is self-winding, as is my style. It's no good for exercising. It doesn't keep track of the distance I've travelled, my heart rate and things like that, which of course is something that a smartwatch can do. And when I'm out on my bike, cycling along quite a lot, you know, and my phone is, you know, in my back pocket, I've got the smart fitness tracker on, I will get the message, you know, if say I get a text or something like that, it'll come up on the tracker. It means I don't have to stop to get my phone out to see if it's something important. I can get sort of an idea of what it is just by glancing at my wrist, carry on my journey without stopping. So there are many practicalities to a smartwatch. There is definitely the functional appeal. You know, they do help you with your fitness, motivate you, keep you inspired, things like that. Very convenient. They can do things for you, you know, which are impossible other than using your telephone. Many chaps use them every day. For me, the delineation comes is when you take off your workout kit and you want to look smart. Now, for me, a smartwatch has no place with formal clothing or even semi-formal clothing. If you're wearing a sports jacket, even a bomber jacket, or something which is designed to be more stylish, that is where the smartwatch falls flat on its face, because as everything being totally designed for practicality, basically a little square box worn on your wrist, it just offers no style. It just offers no expression of personal effort in your clothing and in your overall ensemble of clothes and style, not just clothes but style. So yeah, it really looks incongruous with tailored clothing, and that's kind of where I draw the line. So for me, I do wear a smartwatch when I'm in the situation where I need that service from that device. But when I dress well, even now up in the woods, you know, it is an analog watch for me because it's stylish, it is classy, it is elegant. There's no shame in owning a smartwatch. It's just how you decide to wear it and where you employ it in your clothing. And as I would always say, a gentleman chooses the tools which suits his situation. He is not hog-tied to style itself. You know, it's no good wearing a Patek Philippe leather-strapped dress watch into the gym. It's the wrong place for that tool. So wear the right tool for the right situation and never let what you're wearing define you as a person. Okay, next question from Mad Dog Milo. Hi Ash, I love you're doing this camping away experience, so do I. My question is, how do you square this with your good lady? Well, good question actually, because many people might think, you know, he comes up to the woods for 3 weeks every spring. How does that fit in with family life? And I think, you know, what I'm trying to portray is the reality of my situation. I'm not staying here every night for 3 weeks. You know, I still live a normal life. I've still got a job to do occasionally. I'm semi-retired. I don't work every day. I might work every other day, maybe less. This week I think I've got 2 jobs to go to in the whole 5 days of the working week. So on days where my diary is clear, I'll come up here, I'll spend the day, I'll cook my food, I'll spend the night reading by the campfire, just rebalancing my life, settling down, and life is calm. And my wife shares this passion with me. she's probably going to come up here for dinner with me tonight. We'll cook over the fire. I've got some salmon. I'm going to cook some salmon in my Dutch oven. My son will probably come up as well. He's an avid outdoors guy. You know, he's big into the scouting world. He's going to love it. We'll have a campfire. We'll have a little family get together. It's a great evening out. And they'll probably go home. I'll probably sleep in the tent. Because, you know, we've all got our levels that we're prepared to go to. And my family are perhaps less hardcore than I am. But there we go. And the thing that I think keeps any relationship going, my wife and I have been married for 18 years in a few days, porcelain wedding anniversary. She has her passions and I have mine. So my wife Rachel loves riding. She's into the equestrian sort of world. Some of the horses which share our lives will pass through my videos from time to time in the background. They live near here and they often come through this field where I'm staying now. So Rach has her passions in life and I have mine. And it's really important that you have your own zones of life when you're married, especially for decades and decades, because if you both shared the same thing and you were in each other's company constantly, you know, it gets a bit samey, doesn't it? So for us, that works rather well. In a mutually supportive relationship where we all value what the other does. And I enjoy going to things with Rach and learning about horses. And she obviously, you know, dips her toe into my world from time to time as well. In fact, I'm looking forward to going to see the polo with her in a couple of weeks. So we all learn and experience new things. So my last, I think, question today, last one, is from Tyrell. Now, Tyrell's asked a question. Being a young gentleman, I am looking to perfect my appearance and need a small suggestion as to whether I should maintain a trimmed beard or go clean shaven. What would you think? Well, that is an incredibly difficult question for me to answer because I do not know you and I don't know your proclivities, you know, what you do with your life, how you prefer to live your life. But generally speaking, I can throw a few comments on it. Firstly, I like the fact you're asking the question because truthfully, it shows me that you have an intent to present yourself well to the world. It's rare today that a young fellow is even thinking about whether he should shave or not. Most men today don't shave. I often, not so much now, I don't work in any sort of corporate environment, but when I did, and I would be sat around a table with 10 other men, I would be lucky if there were 2 or 3 of us who were clean shaven. The majority of men would wear facial hair. In fact, this has impacted society to such a degree that even the armed forces in the UK, the Royal Air Force, the Royal Navy have always allowed beards to a degree, but the British Army even have now come to a point where they permit service personnel, men in the service, to grow beards. And that was something which was never on the cards when I was a young serviceman myself. We all had to shave every day. It was part of the uniformity of our look as a service body. But now, because everybody in society likes to have facial hair, the armed forces caved in and, you know, because they were struggling to recruit people, they said, okay, everybody can have a beard. So really, just giving it a thought is a great sign that you are considering, you know, looking your very best. I would say the most important thing when you're considering the way that you project yourself to the world, looking perfect in your mindset, and you said here, as a young gentleman looking to appear perfect in my appearance. Perfect, I think, is that goal that we all strive for, but we're never going to get there. The more important way to look at it is that you are intentional in the way that you dress. I think that for me is more valuable than seeking perfection. If you can show to people that you're making an effort, that's really what it's all about. So facial hair, it makes a small part of it really when you think of it like that. But I acknowledge your question and I think I'll give it a go at answering it. There are pros and cons of being shaven and non-shaven. Obviously, if you choose not to shave and you have facial hair, some will say that, you know, this is a very traditional look. Human beings, men, are meant to have facial hair. Shaving it off is unnatural. Some people will say it provides a very masculine look, that it is a sign of virility. You know, when you think of Vikings and traditional warriors, Spartans, things like that, they always had this dominant beard. if that's what the look that you're going for, you know, a well-trimmed beard is a good thing to have. I emphasise the well-trimmed. Having a big old scraggly full-face beard doesn't make anybody look more masculine or virile. It just makes you look as if you can't be bothered to shave. So I would say, you know, even if you do have facial hair, cultivate that facial hair, make it look good. You can go the full hog, you know, get your beard oil, go and see the barber and have your hair trimmed and your beard trimmed at the same time, whatever works for you. But I think most men will benefit from trimming around the throat area so that the beard is defined and looks smart, rather than, you know, meeting up with the chest hair and you end up looking like an orangutan or something. So think of it like that. You know, it's all about the pros and cons. With being clean shaven, I've always been clean shaven. There have been instances in my life where I've grown facial hair. I had chickenpox some years ago and I couldn't shave for about a month. I had a full face beard. I wasn't particularly keen on it. I went to Thailand as a young fellow and spent 3 weeks trekking through the rainforest, and I have to admit, I did have a good old beard when I came back from that, and I couldn't wait to shave it off. So for me, being clean shaven is almost a luxury item. I like the fact that people see me and I have a, you know, I've had a clean shave every day, and they can tell I've made an effort. I have shaved for the situation that I'm going into. And it gets noticed. You know, it does get noticed. The other thing I would say, the other pro of being clean shaven is, for me, it provides a ritual in my daily life. Now, for me, I get up in the morning, and one of the first things I will do is have a shave. You know, so I'm starting the day feeling clean and fresh. It only takes 10 minutes, but even that ritual itself I find calming and relaxing, and it sets me up for the day ahead. And as one gets older, you find certain tastes in things, like, you know, I like certain shave creams. I like to use a certain type of razor. I like to use aftershaves and shaving balms and pre-shaves and lots of things like that. And for me, each and every day that I shave, that ritual of shaving, using a brush, building a lather, shaving the skin in a couple of different passes, I find it a cathartic beginning to each and every day. Whereas if I had a beard, obviously I wouldn't. Of course, the pro of having a beard is that you don't have that faff every morning. If you're not a morning person and you don't want to spend 10 minutes shaving, you know, having a beard is an easy way out. You can just get an electric razor and tidy it up and off you go. Whereas for me, it's a 10, 12 minute luxury every morning when I enjoy doing it. And for me, it offers that morning ritual, which I love. You've got to decide what works for you. I'd also take into account your facial shape. You know, many people will perhaps perceive themselves as having a weak jawline, or maybe you're a heavy-set person and you've got a number of chins, visible jowls. Having a beard breaks up the roundness of one's face if you are maybe somebody who's carrying some weight. So having that beard brings definition to what would otherwise be a soft jawline. If you have a weak jaw, if you have scars on your face for whatever reason, acne scars or whatever, from an earlier phase of your life, you know, the beard maybe offers a boost to your self-confidence that these things are no longer visible, or that jawline which you feel lets you down a little is increased in its definition by having facial hair. Everybody's got a journey that they're going on for the visage which they show the world. For me, clean shaven has always been the way, and I couldn't imagine not shaving every day now. It's such a big part of my life. Even when I'm camping, when I'm spending days camping, I shave every morning, because for me it's the ritual. If I'm boiling water to make a cup of tea in the morning, it's no effort to boil an extra cup of hot water, which would allow me to have a lovely shave, even out in the hut or in the tent. So have a think about what you want to look like. Don't worry so much about being perfect. Focus on being intentional, and I'm sure you'll find the tone that you're looking for. Alternatively, try both, right? Try growing a beard for maybe 3 months, and try going clean shaven for 3 months. See what compliments you get from people, what people will say. I mean, surely growing a beard is going to make you look a little more mature, a little older. So if that's something you want to do, make yourself look a little older, grow a beard. If you want to look younger, which I think most people would choose to, and you want to look fresh and clean, a shave might be the route for you to take, but try 3 months of each. And then on balance, make your decision. Why not? Give it a try. What have you got to lose? So there we go. Those were the Q&A from my second Q&A video here from Oak Camp. It'll be the last one that I do. But I hope you've enjoyed the opportunity to prod me and pose me a few questions. It's been my pleasure to answer them. And I hope they've been of some benefit to you in the time that we've had to chat. So until the next time, it's been great to speak. Don't forget, like the video, subscribe to see more. If you want to come on the journey with me to Chap Nirvana, you can do so by becoming a patron. And for a tiny monthly fee, you'll benefit from the additional videos which I make each and every week exclusively for my patrons. The link to that's in the show note below. I'd love to have you on board. Take care, and I'll see you all very soon.
I'm tired of waiting. How long have I been waiting here to hear the sound of your wings leaving?